Good evening and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It is me, Rich, back for the penultimate match preview of the season. We're still in it, boys. I'm joined by Martin and Kev, ready to preview Liverpool against Aston Villa on Saturday. Like I said, lads, we are still in it. We've got half an eye on the Brighton-Newcastle game, which currently is Newcastle 2, Brighton 1. But if you'd have asked, I'll keep saying it, this is to either of you, if you'd have said that we're still in with a shout of European football at this stage of the season, like, I don't know, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, let alone 8 or 9 weeks ago, we'd have snapped our hands off, wouldn't we?
100%. And my perspective is very much like, I know you'll hear people saying, well, you got to take these opportunities. And that would normally be my narrative. You know, I'm a big one for saying, you know, sports about moments and, you know, it's well and good looking back and thinking, if only this and happened or that happened. But it's not like we're going for the Champions League or we're going for the Premier League or we're going for the FA Cup in the final. It's to finish 7th of the Conference League or, you know, 8th for us, what's been a phenomenal season where we came from. And that's why I'm a little bit more relaxed about it, because as much as I know Mr. Unai Emery, he's desperate for Europe no matter what it takes. But you know, if we were 5th, maybe trying to get 4th, or 2nd trying to get 1st, I think I'd be all about, we've got to win these games. But, you know, I want us to win these games. I'm desperate for us to do well. But it's been an incredible season. And to be here, as you say, mate, look, we're nearly in the middle of May. And well, sorry, we are in the middle of May, and we're talking about us being possibly going for Europe. It's just brilliant.
Exactly. Martin, anything for you to add? Are you still pinching yourself that we're in this spot?
Yeah, just a little bit, you know. I mean, obviously, I remember that people were saying, you know, Brighton have like 3 games in hand, but I've been saying it for ages. If you look at the games in hand who they had Arsenal, Newcastle, currently losing 2-1 to them at the minute, and Man City. You know, they're not guaranteed to get wins in all them games. Now, admittedly, they go and beat Arsenal because Arsenal, they probably caught them at a lovely time, so they got the result, and that's what they needed. But Newcastle are flying, so like they weren't going to get them at all. But you know, and people are forgetting to mention Spurs. You know, Spurs on a bit of a downward spiral as well. So like, you know, it's not just we should be worried about Brighton. We should be worried about Spurs, because Spurs also have a bit of a crunch game this weekend that they could potentially slip up.
Yeah, absolutely. They're playing Brentford. Obviously, news on Brentford coming out about Ivan Toney, which I'm sure we'll get into in a bit. But yeah. While I'm here, and before we get kicked off into kind of previewing the Liverpool game, I do want to say a massive thank you to our members, Villa Park Pod, our official Villa Park Pod followers. Obviously, Michael, Rachel tuning in, Duncan tuning in today, but we're now up to 11 members, lads, of the channel.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
Adamski joined the other day. Rich Hollingshead joined the other day. Alfie's Reef joined. Nick Salter joined. Heroes of Villains podcast, as well as, like I say, Michael, Duncan, Popper, Scrumps, and Rachel. So 11 members. We did say once we hit that 25 mark, we will do our first members exclusive prize draw. So if you do want to become a member, I've pinned the link in the top of the chat. Click that and then follow the instructions, or go onto our channel and click join, or at the bottom of the chat there's a little $sign. You can leave a super chat, or you can follow the instructions to join as a member. And of course, it's completely free for you to subscribe and like, so please do hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We're on 1,448 subscribers, so can we hit 1,450 today? And Newcastle have just taken the lead, have just got the 3rd goal to make it 3-1. So
Callum
game
Wilson
over. Yes. So yeah, look, Newcastle doing their job to get themselves in the Champions League. The question is, can we do Newcastle a favour and beat Liverpool on Saturday, and while putting us right in pole position to get Europe, give Newcastle a shot at qualifying for the Champions League? George, you just joining us. Can we do it, mate? Can we get the result on Saturday?
Evening, boys.
Evening.
Hello, George.
How you doing, lads? Sorry I'm late, but you're all well used to that by now. Tough ask, mate. Tough ask at the weekend for me. I'm not ultra confident on this one. But it's there to be played for, isn't it? It's there to be. The points are there to be won, mate, and we've just got to do our bit.
4-1.
Exactly.
4-1.
4-1 now.
Wow,
4-1. It says.
Newcastle. I thought you meant
chat.
us.
Newcastle.
Yeah. Oh, geez. I'm not that confident going into the game now, George.
Kev, you obviously George is our realist in the house, very often. And to be fair to you, George, you called a Villa win against Tottenham, so I will take that 100%, mate. But Kev, ever the positive man, can we get that result against Liverpool? Put Newcastle in the Champions League and put us in pole position for Europe.
Well, I'm a bit of a wild card, aren't I? So I'll give you my views. It's good to be a wild card. You got to be optimistic. It will be a very, very difficult game for us because Liverpool are in splendid form. But I think it was your good self, Richard, that said this. It's got to come to an end at some point, isn't it? At some point. And I do think we'll be fired up for it. I really think we will be fired up for it. I know, I've been annoyed at the fact I think after being brilliant on the road, we've dropped off a little bit. Obviously, the last two games because we were absolutely unbelievable. 5 in a row, wasn't it? Away from home. Was it 5 wins in a row? Wasn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah. Crazy. I think we only goal we conceded on the road for a bit. Was the West Ham penalty. I mean, it was just an unbelievable record. And let's be clear, the Man United game and the Wolves game were very, very tight games. They could have easily swung the other way. So I'm not expecting it to be overly expansive. I think I think about this game, right? It's Firmino's last game, isn't it? Probably going to be Milner's last game as well, with obviously where he's at and 2 great servants for that club. Same Milner joined when he was 47 and still had like 9 years, didn't he? But, some great moments, that level of success they've had, those two with that team going through, winning the league after 30 years, winning the European Cup again. They're going to want to put a show on for those players. And it's down to Villa to see if we can basically be the party poopers. But the party poopers, whilst being the party poopers, can put ourselves in a real shot then for, I'd say, pole position for Europe. Because you'd fancy us, wouldn't you, in a shootout and a one-off game against Brighton on the last day? So why not?
You'd fancy us. And also, like Martin said before, we're in it. We can look after ourselves, right? That's all we can do. But Tottenham could easily slip up against Brentford. We get a result, a win against Liverpool. I know I'm wishful thinking here a little bit, but then that puts us 3 points ahead of Tottenham, and then obviously 2 points ahead of Brighton going into that game. Like that's massively, obviously, subject to how Brighton do, but yeah, massively puts us in pole position. And I'm pretty sure Tottenham play before us. Tottenham Brentford's at 12:30 on the Saturday.
Yeah, I think so. I'll get it up here. Yeah.
So it's a massive opportunity.
It is. Sorry, it is. It's 12:30 kickoff. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Talking Liverpool, we'll come on to like the Villa players when we talk on the starting lineups and stuff, and I will get into people's comments in a second. But Liverpool wise, I thought it was going to be 5-1. But Liverpool wise, you talked about kind of 1 or 2 players last games. We've got obviously players like Salah, players like Diaz. It's pretty formidable, isn't it, George? Like who they've got in their front three, and also at the moment, I'm hearing a lot of good stuff about Trent.
Yeah, it's the business end of the season, mate. This is you look at the run City are on at the moment. Liverpool have been running City close for the last 3-4 seasons, as you just said, Kev. They know when to put the foot on the turbo, and unfortunately, this is the time now they're doing it. Alexander-Arnold been moved into midfield and been an absolute revelation, considering all the stick he was getting earlier in the year because he can't defend. But, pushing him up seemed like a logical solution to that. And so it seems to be proved. You've got, as you mentioned, Diaz now back in the side, playing well, scoring goals. You've got, Jota's back now as well, the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Salah's never really dropped off, has he? And he always loves a goal against the Villa. I just think, it's just a bit of a bad time to be playing Liverpool, and I'm not sure we'll have enough to stand in their way this time.
Oh yeah, I've just got a sneaky feeling though. Like I know they're a good side. I know they're a very, very good side, but they're not as good as they were last year. And I don't care who you are, unless you're Man City, to win. They've won 7 Premier League games in a row. To win 8 is very difficult. Like you will come unstuck at some point. There will be a team that, I don't know, like if we can stay in the game, we get a penalty, a set piece, something like that, get a player sent off. The law of averages says that something will happen where, and I just hope, I just want us to be that team that takes advantage. If there's a manager who can do it, Martin, it's Unai Emery. If there's a manager who can pick a team and a tactical plan to beat a team or to frustrate a team, it's Unai Emery, isn't it?
Absolutely, and he's shown that away from home as well. I'm just going to say a bit of a cliche saying, because I know George doesn't like the cliche sayings, but every good thing must come to an end, and that's obviously for Liverpool at this moment in time. That 8 wins in a row, incredibly tough in the Premier League. Doesn't matter who you are, unless you're a Manchester City and their business end of the season, obviously. But yeah, like away from home, Unai Emery's got some fantastic results, and he's really frustrated teams because he sets up accordingly. Different to at home, because obviously at home we play a high line. Away from home, not so much. So this is definitely a game for Unai Emery, and he's a curse breaker. So you never know, he might be a bit of a run breaker as well. So hopefully we can get the 3 points on the board, and just then look to that next game against Brighton, and hopefully Brighton mess up in their next 2 games.
Martin, Martin, when you say that with your dulcet, gentle Irish tones,
it is. I know it sounds great, doesn't it?
Just sounds like I'm listening to like a sleep podcast. Listen, everybody, all good things must come to an end. I'm like my head's rocking to the side. I'm just like, it's really lovely. I mean, if me go, all great things must finish at some point. But can I just add to these things, right? The one thing I love about, we talked about, we're in this European fight still. I know it's a slightly crazy season because obviously the World Cup, so the season's gone on longer. But if this was a normal season, we'd be talking probably right at the end of April now, right at the start of May, and we're still in with a shout for Europe. Do you know what's even better for me? Man City aside, who I don't think like the Adidas All-Stars team on FIFA would beat at the moment, right? Man City aside, I think we could beat anybody in this league. Anybody. And not even on our day. I think on most days. I think the way we play, look at that Arsenal game, we nearly went 3-2 up in the last minute, and then it topsy-turvy. Other than the Leicester game, has it been a bad performance, really, under Emery?
Yeah.
Not really. I think we could have done better against Wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Leicester. I don't even think Leicester was. I don't even think Leicester was that bad. I just think we made 4 terrible mistakes. Yeah,
it was just a capitulation in the last few minutes. Yeah. I think what's happened there.
It was a crazy first half.
Yeah,
we scored a couple of goals. We could have scored more. I mean, if we're saying clutching at straws, like that, we're losing away at Molineux when they've been really good at home under Lopetegui, or losing away at Old Trafford. They haven't lost at home since the first day of the season. I just think that we're in a situation now where whatever happens, think about the days, lads. We were going to play teams and getting dicked by the likes of Wigan and Palace and Burnley, sometimes at home. Now we're going to Anfield. I said for weeks for this whole running, the only game I was worried about was Wolves, because I know Liverpool, since I started saying that, I've won every bloody game, but. I think we'll compete. We've got some decent play. Our first 11 is good. They've got fight. They've got heart. They've got McGinn, Marshall in that midfield. And I think anything's possible. And
and we've got like nearly a fully fit squad again, don't we? So the bench is definitely going to be a lot stronger.
Coutinho aside, basically, yeah, it is. So yeah. I mean, let's go for it. Why not? Let's have it.
Yeah. Just to say, Sheffield Wednesday have just scored to make it 3-0.
Oh wow!
20 minutes left. Also, I just wanted to pick up on that point you said, Kev, there, because what's the best thing at the moment about Villa is before with the two with Smith as well, and obviously and Gerrard, of course. But what would tend to happen is if a couple of players didn't play well, the team wouldn't play well. Whereas what I feel like with Emery is because we've got such a set plan, if a couple of players are having an off day, then there's still room for other players to step up. Like McGinn, Ramsey has an off day, McGinn will step up, or Buendia might step up, or Buendia has an off day, then Ramsey's stepping up. Like it's kind of that's what's so good to see. That's what you talked about character. Like there's a couple of players. If one or two players aren't on their game or an off day, other players will step up. And then the second thing is Emery will make changes, and he's not afraid to make changes.
Do you remember as well? Like it's not that long ago when we had that mercurial star boy himself, who fair play to him on the Real Madrid game last night, playing absolutely class. But when Grealish didn't play, we didn't play. It was simple as that. If he wasn't in the team, then we didn't do anything. He was in the team. We generally did pretty well. It was all about one man. Now, there's not one man in the team. Watkins has been off it lately, and we've still won games. Yeah. You know, McGinn, this season, first half of the season, was nowhere near what he is now. We've had Kamara at the team loads this season. Coutinho, I think all of us thought was going to be our star player this season's hardly played. You know, there's been no one player that you think, if they're not in the team, crikey, we're going to be struggling. Watkins, I think, is a clear focal point for our attack, and we probably are struggling as for options on that. But other than that, and that's because, Rich, you're absolutely right. It's the plan. You know, whether it's Young or whether it's Cash, whether it was Konza playing right back or Chambers, they play that certain type of role. If Digne plays instead of Moreno, he's going to play a bit more attacking now because that's the system they play. If he's playing two holders in midfield, they know what their job is. That's why Dendoncker can seamlessly fit in, etc., etc., etc. So I just think that this is in the mark of a great manager. They have a system, they have a plan, and the players are fairly interchangeable.
Few comments. Michael says, I'm so chilled. I've been playing jazz all week. Nice one, mate. Love it. Love it. And also he says, just want to say you guys are doing a fantastic job. Thank you, mate. And like I said, it was so great to meet you last week at the Villa Spurs match. And you're a great supporter of the channel, as are all of you guys watching. So thank you so much. Gary, hi all. Lots to talk about tonight, lads. Absolutely. Get your questions in as well for the roundup at the end. So we'll star any good questions, or if you want to pop a super chat in with a question, then please don't hesitate. Duncan, well done. Newcastle, winning 4-1, as some of the comments are saying. Rich is in the house. Hi, guys. Hi, Richie. Nice to see you, mate. Gary said, need to stay in the game for as long as possible on Saturday and not get hammered. Yeah, I think we're touching on that. I think, and if there's anyone who's got the plan, it's Emery. Rich said, worried about the high line on Saturday against Salah. He's dangerous. Just on that, George, I'll come to you. With regards to kind of that high line, me and Gareth talked about that quite a bit in the Talking Tactics show, which was honestly, it gets better every week, the analysis from Gareth. So if anyone hasn't seen it, please do check it out. But some of the comments after the match of the day analysis from Ian Wright and Sean Wright-Phillips didn't really focus, said that we were going to get caught out with this high line, but didn't focus on the fact that we don't play it every week. Would you suggest, George, that away from home, particularly against the likes of Salah, Gakpo, Diaz, we're probably not going to play as high a line as that, are we?
Well, I hope not, because we kind of tried it the other week, didn't we, at Man United, and we got caught out a few times. And Man United have lost in the cup to them as well. And players like Rashford, I look at Salah and Rashford quite similar, aren't they? The way they attack, very quick, and I think that's a license to get absolutely stuffed if we try that one again. Fair play to them Saturday. It worked really well. I mean, Tottenham were caught offside time and time again. Yeah. But there's far more pace in this Liverpool team. So I think we'd probably be a little bit more pragmatic in our defensive style.
100%. And I was going to raise this. Gary's jumped in there with it as well. Klopp not on the bench, which may help. Kev, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that'll fire up Liverpool, or do you think it'll help not having him as a distraction on the bench?
I think it'll help Villa. I really think it will. I mean, he's such a passionate guy. You see him at the end of the game when he punches the air and they all cheer along to it, and he lives and breathes every second on the touchline, doesn't he? He's one of those managers. I think if it was like a Gerrard, for example, when he was our manager, he didn't move, didn't do anything. So you could have replaced him with like a sponge, and it wouldn't have made any difference because there's no coercion of the player, there's no emotion, it's just fairly drab, just kind of watching it. And then I'm sure he did his thing at half time or full time, whatever. So I think that will only benefit Villa. They'll obviously have his assistant, and I'm sure he'll be on the blower trying to get his signals through. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, they're absolute elite athletes. They've all won pretty much most things. That team. I'm sure they can do a professional job, but I feel like it's a little advantage to us. So I'll take what I can get, really.
I'll tell you what, Kev. I think he's a bully with a big smile. The way he treats officials week in, week out, honestly, I think it's terrible. I think he reminds me of Fergie. It's just like Ferguson used to be. Yeah, and it's all to get that sort of that the officials are scared of him, aren't they? Yeah. Do you remember was it last season when he had the row with the commentator on BT Sport, and it got really, really awkward, didn't it? And he's borderline, he's borderline bullying him. I'm like, Klopp, leave it out. you know, you do your big smile at the end and think you get away with it. But
and also clapping.
people can
Who was the team he was celebrating like in the face of the players at the end of the game? Was it Arsenal?
Oh yeah,
Chelsea.
The other week he pulled his hamstring, didn't he?
No, there was
That was
different one. Tottenham.
Different one.
It was like clapping the players in the face, like it's like, you know, when they scored the goals, and it's like, yeah, I appreciate it's a bit of emotion, but you're not wrong. I mean, I think I like a lot of football fans. I've got a lot of time for Klopp. I think he's been a great character for the Premier League. You know, from his very first press conference, one of the early ones when he went, and then we lost at effing Crystal Palace. You know, and like, I just think he's endeared himself to the country. But he has got a little bit lately, a little bit moany. You know, I mean, I think it maybe started back from the was it the grass was too long when we beat him 7-2, and you know
there's all sorts. Like I don't like the way that he complains about the fixture pile up and loads. Like they win leagues and they win games, and they complain about the fixture pile up. Like, well, don't win games then. And I know it's kind of a backhanded thing to their owners to get more money out of the chairman. I know what it is. They always want more players, don't they? But it just comes across as like entitled, doesn't it? And it's like
he forced in the 5 subs as well.
Yeah, the schedule. Yeah, exactly. The schedule's too hard. All this sort of rubbish. Well, don't win games if you're that bothered about the schedule. Let someone else finish in the top 4.
But here's the thing with Klopp as well, and I know Liverpool fans go on about this, like, oh, he's dominated English football and everything else, but when I actually look at his tenure at Liverpool, he hasn't really dominated the Premier League, has he? It's always been like a Pep Guardiola who's been dominating. He's only won the Premier League once, and they go, oh, we won this, and that. Yeah, but you won it in different seasons. You didn't win it, like, collectively.
Well, City have pretty much won every other one, haven't they?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then you would have had, obviously, back in the time of Sir Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger. When you look at Arsene Wenger's tenure, it was kind of like, well, it was Ferg. He's just dominating, but it was just a rivalry, and that's all Klopp is. It's like another Arsene Wenger who's just a rivalry to Pep Guardiola or in Sir Alex Ferguson when they're the ones actually dominating English football, competing in the league at the high end every single season and getting to semi-finals and finals of cups. So, I mean, by all means, he's still a good manager, Klopp, but he's not as big or as good as people are making him out to be.
I think you've got to give them a bit of credit, haven't you? Because they do it like their net spend is pretty decent. They've not done what City done and just bought all the success. Liverpool.
Oh no, by all means,
by
all means that's good, but still that squad is aging now, and now we can't get the players.
I don't know if their net spend is that much lower, compared to City. I think that's one of those. That's one of the things that City fans will say against Liverpool. Like that's one of the things that I mean I don't know. But I just know I've been on other podcasts with Liverpool and Man City fans, and they always get into that argument, and then they'll say, "Oh, well, our net spend isn't that much compared to yours." So I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, they have a lot of money, they spend it, but
I think he's done an absolutely sensational job. I mean, from Brendan Rodgers, and you know they obviously nearly won the league that season and fell short, and the monkey was on their back. I think they thought they were never going to win it again, and they saw Man United just get closer and closer to that 18. After being like miles away. To then go past it, so to win the league, to win the European Cup, I think it might be Roy Keane that said this. They're not like dominated like some teams do, but this is an era of you've got a state-funded, fairly financially, dodgy, shall we say, team that have absolutely blown it in terms of throwing cash at stuff. 50, 60 million pounds for right backs, blah, blah, blah. They play phenomenal football. They're an amazing football team. And, whoever you are right now, you've got the best team probably in the world, the current European champions, getting absolutely destroyed. So, credit to Klopp just to even stay near that team. That the year they finished second when did they get 100 points to finish second or close to it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Last year, wasn't it?
97.
He's an
97,
absolutely,
96, 2 times.
It's an incredible achievement. So I think that, I've got to be fair here. I think Klopp's been absolutely sensational. He's a moany old tit at times, but I think he's been a brilliant manager.
Yeah, in any other era, he'd have had 3 titles, wouldn't he?
Yeah, 3-4 titles. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Michael said, guys, I said a few weeks ago that Villa will win at Anfield, and I'm sticking with that. Emery masterclass coming up. Duncan said Brighton do crack and concede a few. I've started a couple of comments, guys, like Ivan Toney and stuff. We'll get into that a bit later. Villa need to play the game, not the occasion, says Rachel. Gary Brighton are really Jekyll and Hyde, but they play Saints, which they will win, unfortunately. Yeah, that's the kicker. Rich says Liverpool are in serious good form. Gary Unai really wants Europe and will try everything to get it in the next 2 games. Jim is joining us. Nice to have you on board, mate. Way to beat Brighton is to lock down the central area and hit them hard and fast on the break. Everton and Newcastle have done it and won. Arsenal missed the trick and got beat. And Duncan says Salah is the danger man on Saturday. Yeah. Willie is in the house. Hello, mate. Evening, guys. I think if we can keep them quiet for the first 20 minutes, then I think we have a chance. 100%. Brighton, yes, they did rotate their team. They kept McAllister, McAllister and Cisco, and there was someone else on the bench, Ferguson on the bench, and they brought them on. They did a triple substitution, so they did change a few, but obviously it didn't help them. Michael said, last week I said Kane will die for a pen, and I follow that up with, do we need to start playing dirty? What do you think? What do you reckon?
I think we answered this. I think we answered this last week, didn't we? He asked the same question, and
just a little bit smarter, don't we? Sometimes. Oh yeah, we mentioned it about Watkins, didn't we? Saying like he's a bit he can be a bit if he needs to be a bit clever at times. Because I think it was Mark who posted on Twitter the kind of the challenge that Lloris put on Watkins a couple of seasons ago that wasn't a penalty, and then the one that Kane got. And I just think Watkins can be a bit more, selfish and a bit more clever.
I think I'm a bit hypocritical on this because I've said about the shithousery that we've brought in recent times. You know, Martinez has chilled it out, thankfully, a bit, but you know, it used to really annoy me when other teams did it and we didn't do it. But I gotta say, like, I feel like it just sucks the life out of football. Like, you know, you've got a situation where he's clearly manipulated that situation, Kane, to get the penalty. It was never a penalty. And all of a sudden, what are we saying? We're advocating to the future generations. You know, there'll be kids in playgrounds, kids at football matches, you know, leaving a leg in to get a penalty. I mean, I'd just much rather be a bit more consistency where, I mean, what do these VAR people do? I mean, it was great to see them on Monday Night Football, but it would have been good to see them analyse some. You know, they should have done a viewers vote. Which VAR decisions do you want us to analyse with the audio? We would have got Villa Twitter dive on and go, okay, tell us about that Kane penalty then. Tell us when he throws both his legs into Martinez, you know, how it's a penalty. Because I think it's an interesting point. What do we want from this game of football? Do we want it to be, you know, good hard tackling and, you know, you got to be cute and savvy and whatever, but cheating to win a penalty? Is that what we want to advocate?
I'm with you, Kev, but a lot of people said it was a pen, didn't they? It's been mixed reaction to it.
Not a pen, never been a pen.
I was, just what you said. I was going mad because he literally he initiated the contact himself, didn't he? He saw it coming a mile.
Yeah. And what's a keeper supposed to do? Like disappear for 3 seconds and then reappear once he's gone past. I mean, if they can bring in that kind of technology where the goalie can press a button as he's getting close, so he doesn't initiate contact, what's he supposed to do? Anywhere else on the pitch, like. I just think that the problem with stuff like this is if it does that mean that we miss out on Europe by goal difference, and you know, for those that want Europe, and I'm a bit on the fence about it, I want Europe, but you know, I'm not. If it's 8th or 7th, I don't really care too much. But it's not the point. The point is that if you lose out by goal difference on something which is clearly cheating, then. And I know we've got that whole Sheffield United goal over the line thing. So
I was about to say we have that Sheffield United goal there.
Again, I think there's a lot of moral high ground in.
That wasn't our fault, though, was it?
I wouldn't complain if Watkins did it. So,
but he doesn't do it, does he? And I know Grealish used to do it a little bit, but
yeah. But if Watkins did do it and he won the penalty, we'd be saying nothing. We'd be laughing, saying,
that's what I'm saying. We'd be like, it's clever. That's what I'm saying.
Because he doesn't do it, then I'm not saying that. If he starts doing it, then I'll quite happily like change my entire tune and say, listen, it's the way football is these days, lads.
There you go.
But until that point.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's. They've got loads of comments coming in. Rich is saying, I think we will put McGinn on Trent like he did for Spurs on Kane. Man, mark him out of the game. Could be a shout. Could be a good shout.
He did a really good job on Kane, didn't he, last week?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Bully Kane.
I don't think man marking Trent is the way to go. It will leave gaps for others to exploit. Yeah, we'll see. We usually have that box midfield, which helps, doesn't it? What have we got? McGinn has been awesome, especially the last 2 games. Been the best on the pitch. We'll be interested to see how we set up the double pivot or out wide. Where do you think McGinn should play? Well, funny you should mention that. We'll get into it in a minute. Billy is in the house. Come on, the Villa. He's a Newcastle fan. Good man. You've done us a favour tonight. So we'll hopefully do you a favour on Saturday and get you that Champions League football set up. Duncan said Hawkeye was a tech failure, not
exactly.
VAR. Yeah.
Good, great point.
Sarko said the goalie needs to win the ball, otherwise it's a penalty. Kane gets there first. There we go. We'll do Almany in a bit as well. Got some questions coming in about him, but let's get into Villa. Let's get into Villa's starting lineup. Obviously, we've mentioned that Coutinho is injured and Chambers was ill, I think. But I've got your guys' starting lineup, so I haven't checked them at all. So you guys can talk them through one by one, and then you guys in the comments let me know what your thoughts are, who you would start, or if you'd make any changes. So Kev, I think I've got yours first.
Say, you want to be careful checking this, mate, because in the 1 week I'm going to put Bailey in every position, and you're going to put it up on the screen. But the reason I say that,
starting in this time.
The reason I say that is because some of the viewers won't believe it, but I've put him in the team. Yeah, I put him in the team. I can't believe what I'm doing. I can't believe it. I don't know. I just feel like Buendia, I don't know, for me lately he's been a bit hit and miss again still. Obviously Coutinho's not in the team, and I don't think Traore's taken his opportunities lately. So I just think that Bailey, with, if he has one of his days when he's got pace, I think he's an outlet, isn't he? And I just think that is reluctantly the option. I did obviously tried out.
I thought he was good for 60 minutes. I actually did think he was good.
I did think, actually, I said this last week, I thought he did everything he could have done. He did reasonably well. Didn't give the ball away much. But when I saw the wonderful Talking Tactics show, if you haven't seen it, everyone check that out. You can see he didn't have that much influence in the game. You can see, so therefore, he's
but most of the time the forward players don't, because they are on the end of the moves. But yeah.
So agreed. I've got him in. I've gone for the traditional sort of back four. Back to Mings and Konza. I've put Cash in because I think if he's fit another week back, maybe his energy might be sorely needed. And then I've put Kamara back in as well. I think Kamara's fit. Then I think Kamara Louise and McGinn can play in that middle role where I think if he needs to latch on to Trent, if Trent's doing his spraying the balls around, he can. But I also think I'd like to see him doing his attacking work.
Cool. Yeah, it's not a bad shout on that. I think, whose is this one? Is this George's?
Yeah, that's my team, mate.
Yeah, so you've Bailey, you've gone a little bit more defensive.
Yeah. So I brought in Luca Dean simply because I think they're both decent, but I think I just like Luca Dean as like a better tackler than Moreno. Just on a few games I've seen, I just think he's a bit more. If we're under the cosh, he likes to put his foot in a bit more. So that's that change. Maybe Moreno comes on later in the game if we're still in it. I've moved McGinn out wide, but more of a tucked in midfield system.
Yeah.
And I wanted Kamara back in the team because I love him. I just think he's quality. So but Bailey did do well last week, as you boys just said, but I just can't think of an away game where he's done anything this season. So
I agree.
So no Bailey.
Yeah, it's a tough one. The one that team that you've picked there, George, though, does give us quite a few good options off the bench if we are, keeping it tight. You've got a Moreno to bring on, you've got a Cash to bring on, you've got Bailey to bring on, Traore. Who misses out in midfield there?
Who have I got rid of? Obviously Bailey, as we said, and then Donker.
Right, okay. Just trying to think who played on Saturday. Is that the team? Oh yeah, you've got Moreno out. Yeah, okay. And then Martin, last but not least, is that similar to? Well, it's a bit of a mix of the two. So you've got Moreno in.
Yeah, I just think the one thing that you'd never do as a Premier League manager or any manager, for that instance, is change your back five. So, if the back five is working with Martinez, Mains, Konza, Young, and Moreno, if that's been working for the last few weeks, don't fix it. Don't change anything for it, because I think Ashley Young is so fairly experienced enough to deal with players with pace and really frustrate them. Moreno as well. I think this is a good game for Moreno, that he'll get a good proper test against Mo Salah. I went with Kamara back into the team as well. I think He needs to come back into the team. I want to get rid of Bailey. It's nothing against Bailey, but I just think that if he's coming against Andy Robertson's just going to have his number. So that's why I put McGinn on that right side, to like George, literally
That's
same
not a bad
thinking.
shout, McGinn
Just
against Robertson.
Yeah, just literally just a bit of a battle for him, and I think that would be obviously Robertson would be up for that battle. He's a hard Scottish man like John McGinn as well, but it'd just be a more interesting battles where if Bailey was coming up in a battle, he just gives up easily and then starts getting frustrated and losing the ball and wouldn't even have control of it whatsoever. So that's just my view, and I just personally would not change that back five. Just a little tweak in midfield and pretty much the same team.
Yeah, I do think. Yeah, I kind of agree with that back five thing. Maybe he'll bring Cash in, but like you said, Young had a great game on Saturday, and he played the full game as well. Like he took Watkins off for Cash, didn't he? Right at the end.
That's it. Yeah.
We've been saying how much like we thought Young has been tired and looked leggy, but certainly wasn't the case on Saturday.
No, and that's the thing. We're in the business end of the season now. So when you're in the business end of the season, the one thing you don't do is change your back four. Unless you're Man City, where you can literally just rotate anybody. But like every other team, when you're in the business end of the season, don't change that back five. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Well, Emery's like we thought he would. We thought as soon as Cash was fit, he'd come back in, and he hasn't. He didn't do it. So yeah, I think he probably does keep that. I do think Bailey drops out, and I think Kamara comes back in, and McGinn goes out on that right hand side. I do think that. But look, Duncan saying Bailey's pace will be handy in this fixture. Gary's saying Bailey doesn't start for him. He's a sub when the opposition are tired. Caden, who's joined us, says Unai really likes two up top. Yeah, but he's had Buendia up there with Watkins or just off Watkins, so I think he more likes to flood the midfield. Really, Buendia. I think Duncan thinks. I think Buendia is the best in the number 10 role. Gary says Coutinho starts the car back to Brazil.
I think that's it, Coutinho lads.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. Rachel said I agree with George. Luca Dean. I think this game may suit him. Sheffield Wednesday running out of time.
Talking of games tonight, there's a claret and blue team in the Europa Conference League final.
Exactly, and there'll be another one next season.
West Ham won 1-0, 94th minute, 4-0 scored. But so good omen maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Not them being in a relegation battle though.
Well, that's one of my thought processes. I think if we can finish 8th, we can do a Leicester and win the league next year.
Yeah. Adamski likes your setup, Martin. I just want to say, Adamski, thank you so much for becoming a member, mate. We did give you a shout out at the start before you joined, but thank you.
That's why you became a member. He likes my lineups and everything else.
Well, Martin, he hates your lineup. He likes your new audio setup and my speaker and your microphone.
Oh, the setup. He might hate the line. Oh,
I'm only joking. Adamski, if you could confirm, was it his snazzy new microphone with the lights on it, or was it his defensive setup?
Yeah,
make sure you made sure you got that in the shop, Mark, haven't you?
Oh yeah, look at that.
Very nice, mate.
It's not back there or anything.
It's right at front and centre. Rich said Kamara back in there gives us more control in the middle. Possession is key in this game. Got to keep the ball well, 100%. Yeah. We'll come to that, Mike, in a bit. Gary said it's not a bad state of affairs when we only really fear City and Liverpool away roll on the summer. Dempsey doesn't like any of the claret and blue team. James Bond, our man with the golden gun, says, now then, lads, I like Fowler's team, and playing the 4-2-2-2 box formation will hopefully let us compete in midfield. And then Gary's agreeing with us. That's the frustrating thing, because if we get Europe, we will probably win it. Yeah,
big statement. Imagine
that. It's quite a big statement.
It's a massive statement.
That'd be all of us on an away day in the final. Never even mind it. A normal away day.
Unai Emery doesn't lose European games, does he? That's the thing. Unless it's
exactly. That's yeah. I'm just going to do a quick stats update, because we are maybe going to trial a new show tomorrow, just a little bite-sized preview show where we'll go through a bit more detail, the stats and the head-to-heads. But I will quickly just run through it. While I'm doing that, please don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to become a member, like 11 of you guys, official Villa Park followers, Adamski, Duncan, Rachel, Michael, then please click the join button or hit the link pinned at the top of the description. Follow the top of the chat, and follow the instructions. Or you can hit the $sign and leave us a super chat if you want to donate to the channel. Anything is massively, massively appreciated. Of course, you still get all of our content for free, but if you want to support us further, then those are the avenues that you can. So yeah, quick look at the head-to-heads. 55 times played in the Premier League. We've only won 6 times away from home. Liverpool won 16 at home. Recent meetings, 7-2 victory stands out. But other than that, boys, it's not been a successful time against Liverpool. Recent form, pretty flawless for Liverpool. Obviously, they had an eventful game against Spurs, winning 4-3. As is a little bit more patchy. Obviously, massive win on last Saturday against Spurs. And then season so far, not too dissimilar to Liverpool, but looking at that, they do create quite a few chances, and they will certainly score. They'll certainly be up for scoring. So we must be on top of our game.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to expand on that, boys?
Well,
Chef Wednesday scored.
I know. Literally just seeing it. Yeah.
4-4. We Chake Tiote at your height.
I wish I was watching.
4-0. Unbelievable. Catch the podcast. Listen, everyone, watch extra time. Come back in half an hour.
Did any of you boys see the guy the other day on Twitter ripping his ticket up for the second leg?
Yeah, what
and
an
he's
idiot.
gone stick that your ass and all that.
Listen, getting back to the Villa, Rich, which I think was what the point of this podcast is, right? So, why I would look at this, right? The stats, I've said this many times lately. I couldn't give 2 shits about the stats at the moment because we've got Unai Emery in charge. So all bets are off. Like nothing that happened before really matters to me. I keep seeing like things popping up on Villa Twitter. Do you remember when we beat Liverpool when we scored that absolutely incredible goal by Andy Weimann?
Mate, I can't stop watching that goal. The back heel is like literally perfect.
Do you know what our team was? Let me read this team out, right? And just when I say it, right, just think Martinez and Mings and McGinn and what? Guzan, Hurd, Clark, Baker, stop laughing, Loughton, Holman, Bannon, Westwood, Lehigh, Weimann, Benteke. How did we not get relegated with 3 points that season? And the only 3 points we got was in this game.
Who was the manager that time? Ricky Lambert, wasn't it?
Not Ricky.
Was it Ricky Lambert?
Paul Lambert.
Paul Lambert.
Ricky Lambert.
That is, and we beat Liverpool 3-1 at Anfield. So, listen, I've got hope. I keep seeing that popping up in that lime green kit. That back heel. It was the turn up pirouette Bannon did in midfield. He passed the ball out. A great 1-2.
Bannon's still playing, still pulling strings for Chef Wednesday.
Pulling strings, yeah.
Duncan said, I like Trabzonspor if you know the history of the strips. Gary's, Wednesday have scored. Rich saying, what time will the show be, Rich? Or will it have notifications? It'll just be like a video that we'll do. It won't be a live, it'll be a video, but we'll get that out. Either myself or Kev will do it tomorrow, but probably by lunchtime, something like that. We'll get that out. Daz, big up. I'm a Reds fan. Great to have you on board, mate. Best of luck for the final game of the season, but not for Saturday for obvious reasons. But thank you for watching, mate. Much appreciated. Hit that like button where you can. I don't like any other team. It's always confirmed when we play them or imagine playing them. We need, he said, Adamski said we need some Benteke, Wyman, backheel type Anfield magic. 100%. 100%.
I don't want me to read the team out again. Clark,
yeah, I know.
Baker, Holman, Guzan. I mean, Lehigh, come on.
We need to watch the 7-2 demolition job we've done on them to inject some confidence in the team. Rachel says, I'm too superstitious for some reason, so I believe in stats and bad runs, etc.
Sounds a bit like George Fowler as well.
The manager, we have got the manager who is the what did you call him? The
hoodoo breaker, isn't he?
The hoodoo slayer or something like that.
Hoodoo slayer. Calling him the Exorcist. Just gets rid of bad demons and bad omens, doesn't he? Just goes in there and does his magic. He's
even won the Turkey.
Yeah, I look at the amount of things we've done this season. We've not beaten Spurs at home for ages, Man United for 30 years. We couldn't win a away game, let alone all the ones we won. It's just it's
manager of the month and won the game
manager
after.
of the month one afterwards. He's been nominated manager of the season. So listen, normally I'll be thinking, oh crikey, we never beat Man United or all this different stuff, but I ain't bothered now. I've got such trust in Unai that I think we'll put performance in.
Well, look, you've segued perfectly. We will get score predictions right at the end, but we're going to do our little roundup of the news, Villa news, and also cover any of your questions. I have starred quite a few. So, yeah, let's talk Unai, because the news came out today that he's been nominated for Premier League Manager of the Season. And some might say, in the words of Oasis, that if we get into Europe, George, is he a real candidate for Manager of the Season?
Well, you'd have to say yes. I mean, I think it was last week they showed the table since he's been there, a 20-game, pretty much half-season like table, and we were second. You know, it's absolutely phenomenal form since he's come in. I mean, from where we was, we were looking terrible, weren't we? That horrible day at Fulham, getting spanked 3-0, it was looking like a relegation fight. Yeah, and he's just come in and he's just turned it around like with a click of a finger, and he's made it look easy with pretty much exactly the same team. Whether he'll get the Manager of the Year or not, I don't know. I mean, this is a season where there's a lot of contenders, isn't there? I mean, you're obviously looking at Guardiola, Arteta have both had great seasons. You're looking at like the Bournemouth manager, Fulham have had a great season. Newcastle, up there in third. So, there's a lot of competition there. But just to have a nominee is quite impressive, isn't it? Because it's not. I don't remember Paul Lambert ever being nominated.
No, he should have been nominated for that win, though. Did that win alone with that team?
Yeah, just that win. Yeah.
Can I just go back as well to that comment from Gary, right? I'd like to see Pep win something with that team, right? This is my point about Guardiola. What an incredible manager, but try doing what I used to do on Sensible World of Soccer. Like take Leyton Orient from League Two to winning the European Cup. Pep, you've managed Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and Man City. Boring. Dude, come back to me. Anyway, so no, I'm insanely jealous, really. This look for me this game is eminently winnable. It's eminently winnable. I think we've got to have a go at it. We've got to have a go at it. And someone's put it in the comments. The away kit's the only hoodoo we've not broken.
Yeah,
it's almost certain we'll wear that blue away kit. So this has got.
Why don't they wear the black one? They just wear the black one, isn't it?
I know. Yeah. Caden says, I love Unai and I love the reformation he's created at Villa, but how does Pep never get this award? This year might be the one since they're on for the treble. Yeah, I do think it'll be Pep, to be honest.
Yeah.
Big Blooms, great to see you the other day. See, I remembered your name, seeing as it's written down. Good recognition for Emery, but does it not always go to the manager who wins the league no matter what? Yeah. I think there has been times where it hasn't. Yeah.
If you look at it,
getting it once.
The club got it when he won the league. I don't think he did.
I don't know. I don't pay any attention to it. I've never paid any attention to it till this season because our manager's in it. I don't care about any of that stuff.
If you look at it though, it's not about team of the season in terms of all the managers have had. It's manager, and since he came to Villa, his performances from particularly where we came from, and Man City were probably second. When Emery came in, we've come from literally just off the relegation zone to second in the league over half a season. It's incredible, but
I do think Eddie Howe's probably
Derby. There's managers up for it, but
Were you slightly surprised about that Ramsey wasn't nominated for Young Player of the Year?
No.
5 goals.
There's better players.
He's not done enough this season, I don't think.
That little kick up the arse I gave him last week worked, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, mate. It did. I don't know. Obviously, Saka, Haaland, but I was just a little bit. Caicedo's had a great season. Botman's was in there. Just a wee bit surprised that he wasn't in there.
One player I'm surprised
only because Southgate had said that there's been talk that he's been earmarked for England in an England call up. So
I think
Adam said he's had a poor season. Yeah, I don't know. Played a lot of games. 20-year-old playing nearly every week in the Prem.
That's true.
Yeah, I just don't think he influenced enough games this season anywhere near enough. I know he's got a few goals from midfield, but really, a team knocking on top 8, top 7 now. Key attacking midfield.
5 goals, 5 assists for a 20-year-old.
Well, it's not
Yeah,
bad.
it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad. I
It's
just
not
don't.
bad. Not bad.
Yeah, but mate, it doesn't matter how old you are, does it? It doesn't matter whether it's Coutinho or whether it's if that was Coutinho playing that role. Would you be saying it was good?
Well, with Coutinho playing that role age 29, then yeah, I'd say that was
Mm.
bad. But for a 20-year-old, like how many 20-year-olds are playing 30 games, 30, 35 games in the
Yeah, I
Premier
know.
League?
But I think he scored more. He scored more last season, didn't he? I think he's more influential, like a breakthrough season.
Yeah,
So
I agree with you, mate.
I've got a lot. I think he's going to be an absolute ball out. I think he's going to get better and better. I think, with coaching of Emery, but I just think he's been a little bit flat lately. I don't think he's doing quite enough, and that's probably why he's.
I do agree with you to an extent, but I just think, we expect a lot of young players, and like if we say Cameron Archer should be like in the first team, I mean he's scoring goals in the Championship, like. Ramsey is playing every week in the first team in the Premier League, like every week. That shows you how good he is. Because there's hardly any players that do it.
Yeah. One player I'm surprised by who's not in the PFA Young Player of the Year is Evan Ferguson. I think he's been quality.
Yeah,
Like,
but
I'm not saying he should win it, but like he definitely should have got a
Premier
show.
League goals, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think if he'd maybe scored a couple more. I agree. I think he's an absolute quality player. I think he's going to go all the way as well. I think he's been brilliant. But
thank God he's Irish.
Thank God he's Irish. Yep.
Yeah, they need all the help they can get, mate.
Rachel said JJ's been inconsistent.
Hey.
Some games great, sometimes not imposing himself. Yeah, I agree with that. Crazy to think Saka's only 21, exactly.
Yeah.
Duncan says JJ 5 goals, 5 assists this year. Man with the golden gun. I was watching a Spurs YouTuber after beat them, and he said they were bitten by Villa because Unai Emery looks like Count Dracula. Yeah, I think that was expressions. Is hilarious. Well, let's leave that question for later, mate. We'll do that in the roundup. Caden said, I think he's done pretty well, but what you all said there are just a bit better youngsters. Yeah. Bailey has been nominated for Mayor of Basingstoke. We'll talk.
I think you could have just said Bailey's not nominated for Mayor. That would have just done, wouldn't it? Because he has a Mayor.
Adam said, problem is, for most weeks he looks
I've only got on to what you said, yeah.
JJ's a lot to learn, inconsistent, but he's a young lad. He will continue to develop. And Adamski says to see Sam Ramsey more in Emery's plans than Archer. Maybe. I think he's a bit lightweight. Right. Okay. So we're getting lots and lots of questions in about. Obviously, Emery getting nominated for Manager of the Season was great. But some upheaval. Well, I don't know if it's upheaval, but we had news in the backroom staff that is it someone Heck? What's his name?
Chris Heck.
Chris Heck coming in as a kind of commercial director or something like that to help with sponsorship, part of V Sports Network as well as Villa. But obviously the news was that Matthew Almany, or as Gary says, what's everyone's opinion on David Unsworth, Almany not coming. Rich is gutted about it, but sure they'll have a plan. Any opinions from you boys? I'll throw it open. What are your thoughts on the whole Almany situation?
I think Christian Purslow probably took him to small heat, show him the bad stuff at Birmingham, and he probably just ran away, just to keep his job along with Johan Lang. No, just kidding. No, I think a lot of people on the Twitter are obviously saying, "Oh, it's a blow to our transfer window and it's a blow to our plans," but I don't think it is. Like, we're still getting linked with high quality players after this news was announced. Like, so it's like this summer's going to be a big one anyway. So I think we'll move on from it. But I think as well, and I have a little suspicion on this one, that was it just a plan to get Jordi Cruyff out of Barcelona to see that Almany was leaving, then eventually just staying, and him and Deco are going to be pulling the strings. That's one way of seeing it, but that's just a little suspicion there. Like,
yeah, maybe. George, Kev, anything from you boys?
There's been a few rumours, hasn't there, going around. I saw today that someone said that, in some Spanish paper, it said he was concerned about our finances, and there was another one where, like, he was concerned about Birmingham, and you don't know whether to believe anything. But I'll be amazed with the wealth of our owners and the seemingly decent FFP position we're in. That was a concern, and particularly with how Barca have played pretty fast and loose with finances over the years. So was he more concerned that he couldn't, be as reckless as they'd been? And the thing about Birmingham, who knows? Maybe he did come here and didn't fancy it. it's probably very, very different if is he 60 years old? He's lived in Spain probably all his life. Birmingham is a bit different to to the Spanish coast. So look, I'm really quite cool about it. I think the club have had a great plan. Look at all aspects of the club: the women's team, the youth team, the plans for the redevelopment, the academy, the training ground, the inner city academy, the growth of the men's first team. All of it's looking good. And I think there's a reason why they announced the Chris Heck news fairly quickly after the Alaman news was announced.
Yeah.
Was because they wanted to get a good news story out. They're surprised they didn't announce the signing of Mbappe as well that same day. I don't know what Villa are like. But I mean, if I haven't got a club like Villa and the way they do their business, if he was the only person they had lined up for that job, I'd be amazed. So I think
there's been a couple of other names. I'm pretty sure Gareth said he was surprised at Alamani and he thought it was someone else they were going for. But I'll have to get it from Gareth. I think it was the Sociedad guy. I can't remember what he said. He thought it was nailed on, and it was another guy. But yeah, Rachel said the main concern is the timing, stuff coming out of finances, etc. Don't believe them, but something about it doesn't sit right with me. Now, George, you are I think that strikes a chord with you, isn't it? Because you've kind of pinned this. You weren't quite sure about, particularly with our January business or lack of. And the wages that we're paying, you're also not 100% sure about the finances at the club at the minute.
Yeah, as I say, I don't think there's no disaster, and I'm no expert on it. It's just that with the FFP, I know for the last couple of years our wage bill has been like it's up to the 7th highest now. I think it was the 8th highest last year, and our finishes were nowhere near that. You need to be matching where you finish. As in like otherwise you're losing money hand over fist, which we've always done. I mean, I keep a close eye on how many times the owners keep pumping in capital. And Villa has never been a very good club at making money. We're very good at spending it, but not so good at bringing it in. And Gerrard's bringing in Digne and Coutinho, all of a sudden Boubacar Kamara, who was a free transfer, but they're all on like 150 plus a week. That's uncharted territory for Villa, and I just wonder how sustainable that is. And I'd definitely say Digne and Coutinho are the first two on the bucket list to get rid of. And maybe they looked at the wage bill and he thought, how am I going to get the players in of the class that I want when their wage bill's already that high? So I don't know that for sure. That's just a little hunch I've got. So we'll wait and see. But we're in good hands. We'll be all right, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I think there's probably truth, a little bit of truth in all of that. I don't know how detailed the negotiations got. Or, it's almost like, for me, it's almost like when you want to try and sign a player and a player's got a few options and he goes to the club and visits the club, you have a little chat with him, you try and schmooze him over, but for whatever reason, he didn't fancy it. I don't know how detailed they got into the finances and how detailed they got into kind of what exactly he would be doing and players and all this sort of stuff. And there's also rumours that he came over to Birmingham to negotiate a deal for a potential player, not necessarily to come to join the club. So that could be it. The finances side of things, I do tend to agree. Like we've specifically related to wages, and obviously where we are in the league and where we're trying to get to. The benefit is we're going to finish quite high in the league. We're going to get prize money and TV money again. And we are also in a position that we've covered loads of times on this pod where we've got saleable assets. We've got fringe players that can be sold, and we've got academy prospects that can be sold. And if you have to sell an Archer for a 25 million, or an Eric Bonham for 5, 6, 7 million, or a Philogene Bidet for 6, 7 million, that's 100% on your FFP. So all of the, a 25 million for an Archer all of a sudden means you can almost triple that on the back of what you can sign because of the kind of FFP rules. Yeah. So I don't think we're in a huge problem. And I tweeted out, I didn't know much. Again, this backroom stuff, I'm interested in what we do on the pitch, right? I'm interested in winning football matches. And if someone's going to come in and help you to get better players and win football matches, then great. But I didn't really know a lot about him beforehand. And I don't really have too much of a kind of thought process on him not coming. like you boys have said, I'm fairly nonplussed about it, to be fair.
I think Villa fans are quite rightly a little bit worried, because the rumours of financial worries, whether it's perfectly reasonable because we have to toe the line for FFP considerations. It doesn't matter how much money you've got to obviously meet a certain standard and and live within the rules. But all of the narrative from the club is that we're going to go big, and I don't know why they'd be making those kind of noises if then all of a sudden they were not going to.
We did have that last year, though. We did have that talk from Perzo last year. Perzo likes to do that, and we had big talk. And we don't know, like, as much as kind of as bad as it ended with Steven Gerrard. We were saying at this stage of the season, give Gerrard pre-season. We're going to go big. Perzo's making big moves, all this kind of stuff. And then, his bullish talk in pre-season could have been justified. It could have been justified because of what he was being told at boardroom level. But obviously it didn't transpire because we kept saying we need a striker, we need this, we need that, and it didn't happen. Now, I would hope that isn't the case for Emery, and I'd hope that he's got enough, he's delivered on his promises, like probably 3 times as much as they expected by the end of this season. So I'd hope that they will back him. But, Perzo has been known to kind of do this big talk and then not deliver. So, sometimes we need to just wait and see on this.
I've heard he's been pushed out into the background a little bit now, Perslow.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I've heard that one as
well.
He got himself on Sky News the other week, and he doesn't mind. He doesn't mind a shouting.
He loves the spotlight, doesn't he?
We'll see. Yes, Rachel. Antonio Cordon, the Betis guy. That's the one. That's the one who Gareth said he thought was nailed on to come to Villa.
I don't know who that is.
Absolutely nailed on. I think Barcelona are run by the mafia the way they work. I can't substantiate that claim. So yeah, I'll stay a little bit away from that one.
You don't want to wake up with some
a
kind
horse's
of
head in the bed. Yeah.
Getting whacked, Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
next.
Gonna whack you.
Rich, you live in Newcastle, mate. It'd be like a cat's head in your bed or something, wouldn't it?
Magpie. Be a magpie.
Be a magpie. Yeah, a black cat. So I was thinking that Sunderland, but
I get you.
Yeah. Over everyone's head that lives. Sorry. So
Peterborough just scored.
Oh wow, my feed's behind. The thing about the Anaman thing as well is it surprises me. Villa are normally doing their. I know Villa didn't put an announcement out, obviously, that he'd that he was coming. I know they didn't say it themselves, but the fact he was out quite openly in the press, talked about everywhere, looked like it was nailed on. I don't imagine that would have sat too well with Villa as well. Wherever that was leaked from, it came from somewhere, didn't it? But we've been known for doing our deals. All of a sudden, you get a pop up on your phone, and we've signed Danny Ings. So,
exactly.
Yeah, it did surprise me that it was so out there without it actually being official. Yeah, I wasn't sure whether maybe who knows what the club had to say about that.
He did actually resign from Barca, didn't he? So it was like
no, I don't think he did. I think it was just a verbal agreement with Villa.
He said it was an agreement, and he would stay until like 30th of June, and he would then, or he would kind of do deals for both teams. It was a little bit. I might agree with you, Martin. It could have been like to force the hand and get him a better deal. I don't know.
Yeah.
But look, it is what it is. It is what it is. Adam says, if we finish 8th, are a team in 8th really going to be able to spend that much? But then some people are saying we've got potentially 200 mil to spend. Look, I think we'll have the money there to spend, but I do think we'll sell players to generate funds. And and we've talked about having a top heavy squad, like with basically just fringe players. And if we can pick up 60, 70 million for fringe players and sign like 2 quality players, I'd much rather have that.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to be able to spend some money, haven't you? Like we've obviously got the Greenish sale. We sold Target. We sold that kid that's gone on to do absolutely wondrous stuff at Chelsea. Chuck Carney for like 20 million. And I know he mentioned, obviously, we've got Kamara on a free transfer. Coutinho was relatively cheap considering, what Barca paid for him. Carlos obviously hasn't worked out. That was a fair fee. But, we must be on the right side of FFP. Even if you're not on the right side of FFP, look what's happened to Everton. They can clearly do what they want. So I know there's going to be, if they stay up, there's going to be quite a few letters going in, apparently. A few complaints going in, I've heard, from all the other teams around them if Everton stay up. But I think Villa are a fairly well-run club. I think we've done things, post Toney with this ownership in the right kind of way. So surely we've got, if other teams around the league can spend 50, 100, 150 million, then why can't Villa? I think we're going to get quite a lot more revenue, aren't we, for finishing higher up in the league. 7th or 8th in the league gets you, I don't know, 20, 30 million extra.
A lot better than it was, yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to get massive TV revenue for Europa Conference League, but hey, listen,
it's an extra 5 or 6 games a season, like at least home games.
It all helps.
It's going to be the first few are going to be full houses.
Season ticket prices are going up. We've got a new kit coming out. That's why I wouldn't be surprised with the way the club's being run. I wouldn't be surprised if we did get that Kangin Lee, because obviously that market's huge, isn't it? Over obviously that part of the world, and it's look, we've got this Chris Buck.
I think he'd be available for fairly cheap as well. So look, we'll see. We'll do a show on I've already speaking to Gareth about shows regards transfers and stuff like that as well. So we'll do plenty of shows covering that. Signings will definitely depend on us getting into Europe. Can't see the owners leaving Emery high and dry, says Weston. He needs to be backed. Yeah, really random reviews. Evening, fellas. Almost missed it. Not a problem, mate. Great to have you on board. You were mentioning about
how much he wants to get back to Emery, because he didn't want to do too much in January, did he? I think he might just be a bit of a, just give me 3 or 4 and maybe not the big stars that everyone's expecting.
Yeah. Well, I've already said, you don't want to sign 6, 7, 8 players. Like he wants to know who he wants, and then like the 3 or 4 players to complement that.
I think he might have to sign a few more based on departures. I think that's I know what you mean. I don't think he's the kind of manager that's generally going to want to buy like 8, 9. No, he's not going to do a Forest, is he? But look, can I just say I don't know whether Europe. I've said this a few times, but whether we finish 7th or finish 8th is a Gendouzi or a Kangin Lee, or whoever it is we're linked to, going to go, oh, if you had Thursday nights in Azerbaijan and Moldova, I'd come, but now you haven't, then I'm not going to come. I don't know if it makes much difference. Yeah, exactly. I think if these players are lined up and the money's looking right and the project is being sold under Emery, then we want to have a go at the top 4, top 6 next season, lads. Are you with us? Yeah. And if you think these top teams have probably got a lot of these positions already sorted, then I think we're a prime candidate. I think we're a better bet than Spurs at the moment. We're a better bet than certainly West Ham are at the moment.
Yeah,
it'll depend on Everton, Leicester.
Yeah, 100%. It depends on the manager Spurs get in. But look, we are. We're like you say, Kev. It doesn't matter too much where we finish in the league. We've had a real upward trajectory. We've got a great manager in charge. We've got players that are playing really well. We've got a fan base that are really on board with everything. Great ground, all that kind of jazz, and money talks, like George says. So we'll see. A few comments I've got to go through. We've got so many. Rich said, "I'm confident in anybody Emery wants, as long as we don't go spending money on overinflated British players like Gordon. 50 million is crazy." He wanted best of both worlds, and you can't serve 2 masters in the transfer window. Big Bloom says, "Spot on, Rich." I did post that before, I'll post it again though, just to make sure we all saw it. Duncan said, "Our net spend this year on transfers is minimal." Adamski said, "Let's hope our owners flex the financial muscle in response to this window." Big Bloom says, "Net spend last 2 years is 40 mil." There you go.
What about the wage bill though? That's what concerns me.
Wage bill.
Yeah, the wage bill.
That certainly isn't flatlining.
At the end of the day, this Barca bloke I'm not too bothered about. You can't miss something you never had, so we move on. Yeah, George would say that probably why we've put the prices of everything up so much as well. Like partly, I mean, whether how much supporters contribute to wages is nothing now. So, yeah. Has anyone from the club actually said we're going big this summer? I don't know. Like you say, it's all a lot of thing, and we've just said that. Does Emery even want that?
It's typical Villa though, because they'll always be, just announce a signing out of nowhere. So exactly. The background has actually said we're going massive for this player or that player. We've always been quiet with transfers as of late, anyway. So
why would you say you're going big? Everyone just sees you coming. Then
I know exactly. Yeah.
I think a lot of the noises around going big are what seems to come out of people around the club. You're absolutely right. Perzlow's not coming out and saying, "Listen, everyone else, we're going to spend loads of cash this summer," because it's like when you go into the market to buy players and you've just got 100 million for Grealish, they know that you've probably got a bit of cash to spend. Yeah. So but I think that must come from somewhere, unless it's just coming from various podcasts, that I'm listening to in Villa Twitter, and actually it's all lies. It's a rumor. I just
probably us.
Yeah, it might be one of you lads said it, but like Emery's not.
Wasn't me.
Emery's not going to come to. He's not going to leave Villarreal for a mid-table Premier League job, is he? He's just not.
No,
I think
no.
He desperately wants Europe, and to get Europe, I don't care like what team you are. You might sneak Europe from a Brighton or a Wolves in recent years. If you want to be consistently qualifying for Europe, you need to spend cash on players. This is the reality.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just so many comments coming in, but yeah, I do want to move on a little bit. Weston said the owners haven't really spent over the past couple of seasons. If you check the actual net spend, must go for a big push this summer. Yeah, like I say, we'll see. Either way, everything's going to be good. Sarko said our revenues are lower than West Ham, etc. The wage bill is the issue. What we got here? All right, okay, cool. So I did want to cover as well an issue that again cropped its head up yesterday, and really puzzling, to be fair, is Ivan Toney getting banned for 2 games, right? When he was already admitted to the charges 2 months ago. Scored against Aston Villa, directly against Aston Villa, and is now not playing in the game against Tottenham. That not only affects Brentford, but also affects like Tottenham, who they're directly playing, but also now other teams are in that position. Villa, Brighton. What are your thoughts on this? Like, why not either do it when he's admitted it, or wait till the end of the season? Why, with 2 games to go, at such a crucial part of the season?
I wonder what the odds were for the Premier League to come with the big bias of that. Anyway, I think, yeah, I'm in agreement. I think the time is just wrong. Either you do it straight away when the stuff came out that he was suspended until the investigation is finished, and then they'll sign on a permanent suspension, or you'll let him play out the season because there's only 2 months left, and then do the suspension then. But with 2 games left, that's just silly. Like, 2 games left, just let him play the 2 games, and then do the suspension, then suspend it for 8 months.
Absolutely.
Or you announce that, right, he's suspended for 8 months, but after these 2 games are finished. Like, I just don't see the point in it. It's just a silly decision to go, right, you're suspended now. But yet, Brentford could go and beat Spurs, and all of a sudden they're in the hunt for that last European place, which affects them now. And obviously Villa, if we lose, and a Brighton, or even, but it's not going to affect Spurs now, but like, it's just a weird one. Like, why did you come out with that? Like, 2 games left. I just don't get it.
I think it's ridiculous on so many levels. I think it's ridiculous for the fact that, where's the consistency there with the fact he's scored against Villa in recent weeks, and then he's going to play our direct rival for a European position and not be able to play. I mean, you're absolutely right. Give it 2 more games and then ban him. I think there's been plenty of situations where people have put bans in place from a certain amount of time. The other thing is this, like, fine, he's been gambling on games, right? And that's clearly not good. And we don't know the ins and outs of what games, I don't think, but there have been hundreds of incidents. So are we suggesting that he's throwing games? Are we suggesting he's not trying his best? Like we get some of these like snooker players over the year, Stephen Lee and a couple of the Chinese guys, who got done for match fixing. Tony's had his best season ever. So he's clearly giving it everything he's got in the Premier League. Fact. So
back at himself, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So morally, clearly it's against the rules. But maybe, I mean, look at all the financial infringements. We've talked about, obviously, Man City. We've talked about Everton, I mentioned on this show. Maybe if he'd done his gambling through the club, maybe he would have got away with it. An 8-month ban from all football. I mean, he could have punched a ref in the face and got a less of a ban. Yeah. I mean, I just think that surely in this situation, it would be good to maybe educate him a little bit. The game is littered. Oh, by the way, I'm a big believer, right? Advertise fags on shirts if you want, because we're all humans, right? And we've all got free will to do what we want to do. But if you're going to, in one breath, say this gambling is so horrendous that my kids, when they buy shirts, I'm sure you guys are all the same, and George, you'll be soon getting one.
They have the...
Yeah, they can't have the gambling sponsors on there. There's gambling everywhere you look, in grounds, on the TV, on shirts. And this guy who's been seduced by it, Wednesday scored, he's been seduced by it, he clearly needs help. So rather than banning him for 8 months, give him some help.
Yeah,
make a little bit of example of him. Give him a 5-6 game ban. and then getting some gambling anonymous help and get him on the right track. What messages does this send?
Yeah, is there a way of him appealing, or was it because he admitted it? They made it 8 months because it just strikes me that it would have been longer if he hadn't admitted it. But I agree, Kev. I think when there's a huge hypocrisy here. Like there's leagues, Sky Bet Championship, like
it goes hand in hand with football betting.
Like the adverts are either cars or betting companies. Like when you watch Sky, the I don't know the Sky Bet fantasy football, like all of that. It's everywhere. Like it's sponsors on shirts. His team Brentford are sponsored by Hollywood Bets. Like and like you say, to expect.
Mate, Rich, Bournemouth, Brentford, Everton, Fulham, Leeds, Newcastle, Southampton, West Ham, and Villa and Wolves have got betting related sleeve adverts.
And don't get me wrong, look, like Rachel said, he's broken the rules. They know what the rules are. They do know what the rules are. Like, so look, you can't not punish someone. However, just to do it now when the season is still going, it has to.
I agree.
There has to be something to do with integrity of the league. Look, if a player gets injured, then fine. But or a player gets sent off, then that's part and parcel of the game. But why have a process that runs through like a legal process or a suspension process, and then let him be suspended for the final 2 games of the season?
It's an absolute piss take, lads. I mean, sorry, why did they not just do the investigation? If you find out he's guilty or he admits he's guilty, then charge him. Yeah, and then you either take your ban straight away, or you say, listen, the ban's going to be next season. You start off next season, rather than telling us 4 or 5 months ago that he's been charged. Everyone's thinking, oh, when's the ban going to start? When's the ban going to start? When's the ban going to start? Like you said, he's scoring against everyone, and now all of a sudden, the last 2 games, he's now can't play against Spurs, and he's scored 20 goals this season. This could end our European hopes. It's a joke.
Yeah, it is. And can I just add to that as well? Like the point around he's broken the rules. I totally agree. And ultimately, rules are there, and if you break the rules, you're liable to get punishment. The thing that gets me, it's the inconsistency. Man City have broken the rules. Everton have broken the rules. There have been Championship clubs that have broken the rules and been absolutely killed for it. And given points deductions, and they've sunk down. Why is it okay for some to break the rules and not for Barcelona have broken the rules? I'm sure PSG have done things that have broken the rules. Like there are teams that are doing things that are okay to break the rules and others can't break the rules. Is it how good your lawyer is? Is it it's the inconsistency for me? Man City last night, I don't want to get too much sour grapes. I listened to TalkSport this morning, and honestly, I felt sick because it's just like how amazing they are. And I'm thinking, brilliant, what a team. But there's some dodgy stuff going on that still hasn't been investigated properly. And we're supposed to turn a blind eye to some stuff. And we're not talking a club. We're not talking like corporate level malevolence and and dirty tactics. We're talking one individual that clearly needs a bit of help. I'm not endorsing what he's done whatsoever, but he's covered everywhere he looks. I've just mentioned there 10 Premier League teams have got gambling somewhere on the shirts. You've got the Sky Bet everywhere. Every time you watch TV, you used to have Ray Winston telling you to put a bet on at half time. So I just think the inconsistency of what they'll do for some people and not for others. I mean, look at the one recently. Didn't Fernandes put his hands on the ref, and yet didn't get anything for it? And then Mitrovic did, and then got an 8-game ban. I mean, where's the consistency with these decisions?
For Man United, that's all that happened there, mate.
Exactly, but that's my point. If you're going to do it, be consistent for everybody. You've got financial infringements from major teams, small teams. Fine them all the same. And then you know what? And then it'll be reasonable. I think people will get on board with it.
There's obviously been lads as well on the football pitch that have got punished less for racism. Now I don't condone racism in any sort of way, but they've been getting done for less. And in my opinion, racism is worse than betting. Don't get me wrong. You should still punish someone severely for betting problems in the football game. But if you're getting less for racism, that's absolutely ridiculous as well. And then you have obviously. What else was going to add? Obviously with betting, I've seen a comment there that betting is a mugs game. Now, I don't bet, never have bet, never wanted to try it. It's not for me. Obviously, there's a bit of family issue there that happened years and years ago, but I'll not get into that. That's a different story for a different night. But betting, it's just, and I agree with that comment, betting is a mugs game. And I just think Then it could be one or two things for Ivan Toney. Either he is a gambling addict and he has a serious problem and he probably has trouble with finances that's not coming out, or he's a bit like a Michael Jordan that'll just gamble on absolutely anything and it's probably just for fun. And, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like at this stage of the season as well, 2 games to go. Just let him play his 2 games. It's just absolutely shocking.
Yeah,
look, gambling's not an easy thing for anyone. Like to think, if it's an addiction, we don't know the details behind it. We don't know, but it's one of those silent things that people can just do, on their phone. Nobody knows about it. I've had people I know who've got in real trouble with it. It's one of those things because you can just be getting on with your day. If someone's an alcoholic, the effects of it. If someone's a gambling addict, you don't see it. So it is difficult, but.
You haven't got to go to bookies every days, mate. You can do it.
Exactly.
You've got thousands and thousands of pounds. You can sit on your sofa after training. And it's also the point I briefly touched on earlier. It's not like he's doing it. If Brentford were bottom of the league and it turned out he was basically betting on Brentford to lose every week, then clearly I get it.
Yeah, it's not a match fixing thing.
It's like when footballers get done for drugs and smoking weed. I mean, it's hardly performance enhancing, is it? Like, if it was human growth hormone or whatever, or nandrolone, whatever, like you can understand. But
if it was human growth hormone, they just say, they just had too many eggs or it was in their meat or something like that. But look. It's more for the Villa side of things. I don't getting real political about it. Look, we know there's inconsistencies. Kev's highlighted it. Martin, you've highlighted it around the racism bans and all that. It's always one rule for one, like you say. Who's got a better lawyer and who's got a better person arguing the case? It never seems to be much consistency here. But from a purely football perspective, it's just shocking. It's just shocking because there's so many permutations that can come off this. Now it's going to be don't get me wrong, Brentford have won every game that he hasn't played in this season, so it might actually do them some good, right? Yeah. But at the same time, if they don't win now, it's always it's always going to be a question. It's always going to be a question.
It's true.
I wanted to bring this up as well, and I think this will actually be really interesting, and he's going to agree with me or not. But didn't Kieran Trippier did the same thing with betting about making a move, in the transfer window, but nothing really happened to him. But yet Ivan Toney's doing it, and he's got 8 months ban.
Yeah, but I think it was one. Yeah, I think. What's to say that again, mate?
I think he got 10 weeks, but I don't think.
Yeah, Trippier got 10 weeks ban. I think it was one thing that he did, whereas I think with regards to Toney, it's over 100. It's over 200 betting. It's over 200 incidents or something.
I know, I get that, but obviously, Trippier didn't get as a severe suspension as Toney.
I mean, I mean, 10 weeks is what's that? 2.5 months,
basically. But I think that was in the summer, so we didn't miss any football.
Yeah, but I mean, Tony's the same.
Well, yeah,
Tony's getting 8 months, and he's be playing again. He can train again in just September and start playing again in January. So. It's not really going to affect him too much, you know what I mean? But
I just can't understand how they can't make that investigation last another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Exactly. Just why ruin it and make it just make it a big issue now when it didn't need to be?
Yeah. Look, people getting involved in buying and selling crypto, and Adamski's getting the tips in. Just a couple more bits, and then we will circle back to Saturday and get your predictions in. But you look, some great questions, great conversations here. Michael's asking, will we be at Villa Park for the last game of the season? I won't be. Kev will be. George,
I won't.
Yes, mate, I'm going. Yeah,
Martin won't be. So a few of us will be there. Richard, how are we feeling about the chance of playing Coventry again after we relegated them? Should be spicy home and away games once more.
I'd like to see Luton come up. Just someone new in the Premier League to come up.
Oh, I mentioned Luton to my missus today. She is raging, honestly.
Why?
Well, we're from Watford, aren't we? And they're local rivals. She will not entertain it. I just went, Luton got, and she's just put her hand out, give me the old, just don't say another word about it. So it's like, all right.
George, you'll tell us that your missus is like, talk to the hand, George. Talk to the hand.
So is that why you're in the doghouse again tonight? You mentioned Luton.
Yeah.
Is that a doghouse there? I think the being a Midlands team, all I remember, I'm 42 years old, and I don't look it. And all I remember is Villa Cov. That's all I remember. The only rivalry we had in the Premier League for years was Villa Cov. Blues weren't up there, Wolves weren't up there, West Brom weren't up there. So it was Coventry forever until basically, 2001 was it? They got relegated. So I think it'd be nice for that local rivalry, but I also think that, considering both teams were right down in the doldrums, in the last 10 years. I mean, Rich, I'm hoping if Luton come up, you can sort me out an away ticket to like go through someone's back door and walk through a bedroom and then come out in the away stand.
It's mad.
Mate, that's not even the worst of it, mate. You've got to get past all the mattresses that have just been discarded in the middle of the streets and stuff first.
I'm all about it.
You've got to see it to believe it, Kev.
I won't take my lad to that one, but I'm all about it. I mean, I think either way, the story for both those teams, when you consider the size of some of the clubs in the Championship, it's an absolutely incredible performance from both Rob Edwards, who went obviously from Watford to Luton, and for Mark Robbins. I mean, if you look at the history of both those teams, they've got a lad, haven't they? Obviously, Luton, who's with them in the non-league, like Pele guy. I mean, his interview was brilliant as well. So, I mean, I think Cov, for the reasons of like having a local rivalry, which will be good, and they'll soon find their voices, the Cov fans, won't they? If they get a win against us. But Luton, I think, also would be a nice story. So
yeah,
that's my
view. Look, let's get back to Saturday then. Guys in the chat, get your predictions in. What you think the score is going to be? It is going to be a very tough game on Saturday, but hopefully we've given you enough reasons to be optimistic. So get your predictions in. Hit that like button, guys. Please do also hit that subscribe button. Help us reach over 1,450 and on the road to 1,500. Honestly, the growth has been mad the last couple of weeks. I mean, I keep saying that. It just keeps multiplying and multiplying, which is phenomenal. If you do want to become a member, then please do click the join button or hit the link pinned at the top of the chat, or the cash sign at the bottom of the chat, and follow the instructions. It's only $1.99 a month, less than a third of the cost of a pint. And you do get linked into our exclusive members only prize draws, which we will do the first one once we hit 25 members, and we're at 11 already. So yeah, please help and become a Villa Park Pod follower. George, I will come to you first, mate. What do you think the score is going to be on Saturday? And who is going to score, if so?
As I sort of mentioned earlier, I think this is a tough day for Villa. We just got to try and stay in the game. If we concede the first goal, it's gone. We're not coming back. I'm convinced about that. If we could nick one, brilliant. But I think we're going to get beat 2-0 here. I just think Liverpool on too good of a run, and we're not quite good enough to stand in their way.
Yeah. Man with the golden gun, he says 1-0 Villa. Really Random Reviews says, I think we can get a result, a draw. I think if we turn up like Newcastle game, we can win. But he's saying 2-2 Villa. Adam says, my heart says 1-0 Villa. My head says 3-1 Liverpool. And Rachel says 2-0 Liverpool. We will play well, though. And now Random Reviews has changed his tune. Says, I'll back the boys 2-1 Villa. And there's a penalty shootout going on at Hillsborough, Duncan says. Kev, what do you think for Saturday?
I think it's going to be... Oh, my mind's telling me, sorry.
We don't need R anymore,
We don't want it anymore. We don't want it.
I think it's going to be 2-1 Villa. I'm going to back the boys. I think that I think we'll score. We haven't scored a away game for a bit, and I got a feeling. Stop it now. Sorry.
Gary says 3-1 Liverpool. Adamski says 2-1 Villa. Richard, the Villa Park Pod family is growing and he loves it. Up the Villa, absolutely, mate. Duncan is saying 2-2. Richard Crawford says Leon Bailey and some fire emojis.
If Leon Bailey scores, Kevin is getting roasted in the group chat.
I put him in my team. You guys didn't put him in your team. If anyone's getting roasted, it's you guys.
Yeah,
not me. I put him in.
How many games have Liverpool lost at Anfield this year? Does anyone know?
As well.
How many home games have they lost?
I know their away fans away form was bad. Home. I bet it's no more than
they've
2.
lost 3 or 4.
stats? Would it be their stats? Home form. Yeah, they've only lost one game at home all season.
Yeah.
Have
They've
they? Is that
drawn.
it?
They've drawn 4. Yeah, they've lost 8 games away from home. Rich says 2-1 Villa. Watkins back on the score sheet. Rich was a big fan of your singing, Kev, as well.
Thanks, mate. I love
Gary
it.
says you need to get your orange overalls on there.
Oh no! Oh.
That's where the comparisons stop, please.
Right, Martin, what are you saying?
I'm going to back the Villa as well. I'm going to go with 1-0 and John McGinn special from long range.
Ooh.
I'm going to go with that one. So
I'm gonna say it's gonna be goals in it, isn't it? I'm gonna say we're gonna draw 2-2. I think we'll get a point, and I think we'll get a goal from a set piece. I'm gonna say Konza just as a random one, and I think Ramsey will score.
Watkins likes a goal against Liverpool.
He does, yeah, he does. He does actually. He does.
5 against them.
Yeah, he does. Right, I think that's us done, lads. Another great show. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for your comments. You guys, like I keep saying, you guys really do make the show, and I do actually like the little question roundup we do towards the end of the show. Who always generates lots of great conversation. So keep your comments coming in throughout the show. It's great to have the interaction, lads. Always a pleasure. Thank you for joining. Please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button, help become a member of the Villa Park Pod family, and as always, please remember, we all follow the Villa. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, all.